Hi, I'm Charlie Conkle, and this is Crash Course World History. Today we'll be studying the immigration and background of Charlie Conkle and how he got to the United States of America. Mr. Conkle, don't you just think this will be an excuse to push immigration reforms and explain how immigration should be done differently today? Quiet me from the past. Now, the main point of explaining this story is to show the importance of immigration in the United States, and to explain how, without immigration, I wouldn't have all these different cultural and ethnic backgrounds that revolve around me today. Now, my family embraces many different cultures. Sometimes it's hard to find out which ones they are. For example, on the Conkle side of my family, my father is supposedly 2% Native American. Now, I'm not 100% sure, but I will tell you, I'm pretty sure I'm not Native American. But I will tell you one thing. On my mother's side of the family, I know a lot about their immigration, and I think I'll be focusing on that today. Now, the three things we're going to be focusing on today are going to be my Italian immigration, my Swedish immigration, and my German immigration, which all three of these revolve around the fact that multiple of these immigrants went through Ellis Island, and multiple of these immigrants had a big key factor in Chicago. And to start it off, I think I'll talk about the Italian side. So the story starts with my great-great-great-grandfather, Enzio Lippo, as seen in the photo above. Now he was a medical student and a commoner, and was studying in Italy when he fell in love with Angelia, who was a member of royalty in Italy. Wait, my great-great-grandmother was royalty? And had a castle? And no one in my family told me? Well, my great-great-great-grandmother wasn't exactly royalty anymore, because her family disowned her upon learning she was falling in love with a commoner. So Enzio Lippo then went to the United States and spent 10 years getting enough money just to get her to come to the United States as well. Now, my great-great-great-grandmother brought over two daughters, and Roseanne Lippo, who was 14 at the time, is the daughter from my bloodline. Now, she married Frank Lancelotti, who was this guy in the photo above. Now, Frank wasn't the best businessman, and in many cases was naive. But he eventually struck success when he made his own candy store with the experience that he learned from a candy factory that he worked at. Now, most of this information was learned for the fact that one of my aunts, Barbara, wrote all this down in a sort of memoir book explaining our family heritage on the Italian side. Now, I read part of it and found out that in a certain chapter they talk about Frank and the fact on how nice he was when it came for his candy factory. And in this chapter, I read something that struck me as quite a peculiar thing in the sense where he sold a hot dog, a sweet roll, and a big bag of candy taffy for 3 pennies. Now, he sold this to nearby schools in order to make sure that the children would go to the school and that they would learn as well. And in order to get this sold, he needed to have someone to help him with this. Now, you may ask, who was the person that helped him? Well, no other than Jane Addams, and the fact that Jane Addams, the founder of Hull House, helped my great-great-grandfather, Frank Lancelotti. Now, Roseanne and Frank had 7 children. 4 were boys, and shown in this photo is Lou, Pete, John, and Mike. Now, Mike is the one on the right that looks like he came out of The Godfather. Mike was the eldest of the family, and, consequently enough, moved to China after he was accused of shooting a man. Now, out of the 3 girls, Mary Lancelotti then married Ernest Ljunggren, who Ernest Ljunggren is the start of my Swedish side of my family. Now, Ernest Ljunggren is a Swedish immigrant and was 6'3" and had blonde hair, blue eyes, which I think I got a lot of features from him. But he immigrated through Ellis Island, and an interesting side note that I noticed, his original last name is spelled like this, with a L and a J starting it. Now, the Ellis Island, I guess you could say worker, didn't necessarily know how to spell it correctly, so instead, he spelled it like this. Now, that's completely wrong. And they even wanted to unionize, come on. All jokes aside, though, Ernest Ljunggren and Mary Ljunggren then had 2 daughters, which was Mary Ljunggren and Gladys Ljunggren. Now, Gladys Ljunggren is the daughter that continues onto my family side and is actually my grandmother as well. Now, Gladys Reinert married John Reinert, or as I like to call him, Buddy Holly. But John Reinert is actually the start of my German side of my family, which is actually quite interesting. Now, not much is known about my German side of my immigration, but I do know the fact that Karl Reinert was born in Germany and had a son named Joe Reinert. Now, Joe Reinert immigrated to the U.S. and married someone named Elizabeth Runkle. Now, Karl Reinert didn't immigrate with them because he died in a bicycle accident in Germany. And if there's one thing you can learn from this, kids, always wear your helmet. Now, John and Gladys Reinert had 3 children. Pictured above is Laura Reinert with a clown that would make Stephen King shiver. But also, she had a daughter named Paula Reinert and a son named John Reinert. Now, Laura Reinert, my mother, married Clarence Conkle Jr., my father, as pictured above. And I will say one thing, my father is a peculiar character, and this next photo is one of my favorite, with his favorite bird Spud and his dog Tudor. Now, Laura Conkle and Clarence Conkle had 3 kids. The eldest is Brennan Conkle, with the middle being Sam Conkle, and the youngest being Charlie Conkle. And ever since that, we've been inseparable, and we've just been great brothers. And that's the history of immigration on my mother's side. Now, there's a couple of things that I noticed from this that I think are takeaways that you should find that are very important. The first one is the fact that I have immigration route lines from all over the world. I range from Italy, I range from Germany, and I range from Sweden. Now, if there's anything you could take away from this, I'd have to say that in order to think about immigration, it's not all bad and just horrible people that are crossing over. These are some genuine, good-working people that really contributed to the world and really had a big impact. And without them today, I probably wouldn't be sitting in this room. So to that, I say thank you. And this is Crash Course. We'll see you next week.